want the dream to a ticket to
AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies, America's Greatest Movies, with special guests Tim Allen, Halle Berry, Peter Bogdanovich, Jeff Bridges, Mel Brooks, Cher, Billy Crystal, Richard Dreyfuss, Clint Eastwood, Lawrence Fishburne, Jane Fonda, Peter Fonda, Harrison Ford, Jodie Foster, William Friedkin, Charlton Heston, Dustin Hoffman, Dennis Hopper, Samuel L. Jackson, Norman Jewison, Sir Ben Kingsley, John Lasseter, Spike Lee, George Lucas, Shirley MacLaine, Malcolm McDowell, Ava Mendez, Liza Minnelli, Peter O'Toole, Sidney Pollack, Debbie Reynolds, Julia Roberts, Martin Scorsese, Martin Sheen, M. Night Shyamalan, Kevin Spacey, Steven Spielberg, Ben Stiller, Sharon Stone, Robin Williams, and many more. And now our host, Morgan Freeman.
I know what you're thinking. Seems like yesterday that AFI polled a jury of filmmakers, scholars, and critics to name the 100 greatest movies of all time. So, why do it again? Well, great movies are made every year, and now we have a decade of new films to consider. Films that probably include some of your favorites. But even more importantly, think about how much has changed in 10 years, both in your life and in our world. The movies and those images that light up the screen have always reflected and in many respects defined who we are. So it's no surprise that across time, as our perspective changes, we will see these movies in a new and different light. Films will rise, films will fall, and new films will be honored for the first time. So, 10 years later, what are the greatest American films of all time? And which is the greatest of them all? To find out, we're off to the races.
The chariot race in Ben-Hur, it's one of the most thrilling and most beautifully crafted and artfully made sequences in movie history.
Driving a chariot was like anything else. Once you learn to do it, it's kind of fun. Especially since the race was fixed. I knew I was going to win.
To infinity and beyond!
Toy Story was the first computer animated feature film of all time. But that's not why we made it. We wanted to make a really great story with great characters.
Resume your positions now! Andy's coming, everybody! Back to your places, hurry! Get your place, get your place. Where's my ear? Who's in my ear? Did you see my ear? Out of my way! Here I come! Here I come! Whoa.
There's a tremendous heart in Toy Story. And this is something I personally, as a filmmaker, learned from Walt Disney. Walt Disney always said, for every laugh, there should be a tear.
Look, over in that house is a kid who thinks you are the greatest, and it's not because you're a space ranger, pal. It's because you're a toy. You are his toy.
But why would Andy want me?
Why would Andy want you? Look at you. You're a Buzz Lightyear.
It's a basically clear-cut story about friendships and honesty and loyalty. I think it's one of the best buddy films ever.
To infinity and beyond!
He's a Yankee Doodle man, he's a Yankee Doodle man.
I loved James Cagney so much that I would cry. When he would dance, I would just cry.
He's got a Yankee Doodle sing.
He was a little guy, but he convinced you he was bigger than the world, and when he danced, it was so exciting.
Yankee Doodle, take to London, love to ride the pony. He is a Yankee Doodle boy.
I think what makes Blade Runner so special is its unique vision. We hadn't seen a kind of urban science fiction like Blade Runner was.
Do you mind if I smoke?
It won't affect the test. Rick Deckard is a kind of detective of the future whose job is to track down and identify replicants.
Get out of the way!
There was a bit of contest between Ridley and I over whether or not Deckard, the character I played, was a replicant or not.
You know that Voight comp test of yours? Did you ever take that test yourself?
I resisted the idea of being a replicant. I suppose, as a replicant would.
The late 80s, it was not the most pleasant as far as race relations go.
Always do the right thing.
That's it?
That's it.
I got it. I'm gone.
What I like about the title is that everyone has their own interpretation of what is the right thing. Not only in the audience, but the characters in the film too.
2 slices. Turn it up! Mr. Radio Raheem. I can't even hear myself think! You are disturbing me!
At the 95 degrees, you know, here in New York City, people lose their minds. And so we just wanted to have these things happen on the hottest day of the summer and just becomes combustible and just blows up.
Well, the last picture show takes place in a small Texas town at the end of 1951. We had a great cast, virtual unknowns, except for Ben Johnson. So we had Timothy Bottoms, Jeff Bridges, Sybil Shepherd, Cloris Leachman, Ellen Burstyn, Eileen Brennan, Randy Quaid, and Sam Bottoms. And it established all those people as name actors.
Dwayne, hurry.
All of us were pretty green at the time, but we felt we were involved with something that was quite unique.
I don't know what's wrong.
What do you mean? How could anything be wrong? Just go on and do it.
Largely what the movie's about is looking for some kind of love, some kind of companionship, some kind of closeness.
Oh, quit prison. I don't think you did it right anyway.
And you know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
They don't call it a quarter pounder with cheese?
I mean, they got the metric system. They wouldn't know what the quarter pounder is.
And what do they call it?
They call it Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
That's right.
What do they call a Big Mac?
Big Mac's a Big Mac, but they call it Le Big Mac.
Le Big Mac. What do they call a Whopper?
I don't know. I didn't go on a Burger King. Pulp Fiction is probably the best film made from my generation.
I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
It was such a unique experience that Quentin came together with a particular group of actors at a particular time, and something so phenomenal happened that none of us can really explain it.
They had a hi-fi phone, oh boy, did they let it blast. 700 little records, all rock, rhythm, and jazz. But when the sun went down, the rapid tempo of the music fell. C'est la vie, say the old folks. It goes to show you never can tell.
All right, Popeye's here. Get your hands on your heads. Get off the bar and get on the wall.
To me, The French Connection was always about the thin line between the policeman and the criminal. It was a cop film, perhaps one of the first, where the cop wasn't a pure hero. The chase scene was a metaphor for the Gene Hackman character, his obsessiveness, even putting innocent people's lives at risk to get the bad guy.
If that is the choice, then I'm against you.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
My father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I assure you, I thank you.
I'm Deckard, Blade Runner, 26354.
Free! There's no free here. I'm the boss.
Old times. I brought a young lady swimming out here once.
Everybody be cool, this is a robbery!
Now I'm gonna bust your ass for those 3 bags, and I'm gonna nail you for picking your feet in Poughkeepsie.
Coming up, timeless comedy classics and a horror film released in the last decade as AFI continues.
Thank you, sir.
All right, see you later. Thanks.
What are you doing? You leaving your car?
Watch the car for me. It's easier than leaving it at a garage and waiting. It's a lot quicker that way. You know what I mean?
Martin Scorsese's really good at showing you things that you don't really want to see in a way that is really disturbing.
The star of the picture is really the lifestyle. There is no main character in a sense that you really follow. It's more like a documentary in a way.
Anyway, you know what reminds me, I need this knife. I'm gonna take this, it's okay?
Okay, yeah.
I just need it for a
Bring
little
it
while.
back, though, you know.
Well, the poor thing, you know, I hit him in his, we hit the deer in his paw, what do you call it?
The paw.
The paw,
his foot.
the hoof. The hoof got caught in that grill, I gotta hack it off.
Ooh.
Ma, it's a sin, you gotta leave it there, you know.
Oh! I know what you're thinking. These people are strange.
I love Sophie's Choice. I think Meryl Streep is one of our brilliant actresses. Anything she takes on is going to be more than it was on paper.
On the day that we went to Auschwitz, it was spring, you know, and well, we arrived there at night. It was a warm night. It was a beautiful night.
Sophie's Choice brings us into a moment we're never expecting, and it comes and whacks us right in the side of the head.
Ich bin eine Polin. Bin in Krakau geboren. Ich bin keine Jüdin. Auch meine Kinder nicht. Sie sind auch nicht jüdisch. Sie sind beide rassenrein. Ich bin Christin. Ich bin streng katholisch.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Turn. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now you've got it.
Swing Time is arguably the best of the Astaire Rogers series.
Ginger Rogers.
I can't teach you anything.
She did everything Fred Astaire did, except backwards and in high heels. I mean, let's face it, that's what girls are asked to do.
The Sixth Sense for me was the first time I just allowed myself to be myself. So I sit down and I said, you know, I love ghosts. Let me just make a ghost story.
Something up there?
The thing is about Sixth Sense, it was one of those timing things because when the audience came out of the preview screening, all they could tell was their sister or their brother or their husband. That's it. And that's where it ended. It wasn't getting on a website and telling 4 million people the ending to the movie. Today, it would just be impossible.
I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I can give, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while.
Bringing Up Baby is one of the best comedies ever made. I love Howard Hawks and his direction because the comedy that's in there is bigger than life.
Susan, please! Look out!
Schneidschulden, habe ich gesagt.
What's the matter with you guys? You all know he's guilty. He's got to burn. You're letting him slip through our fingers.
Slip through our fingers? Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
It was about justice. I think it's one of the reasons Dad wanted to do the movie. He liked what it stood for.
Take a look at this knife. It's a very unusual knife. I've never seen one like it. Neither had the storekeeper who sold it to the boy. Aren't you asking us to accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm just saying a coincidence is possible.
And I say it's not possible.
Part of the reason I think it works is because I had what I think is one of the great naturalistic actors doing it, Fonda. He could make you believe just about anything.
We have a reasonable doubt. And that's something that's very valuable in our system. No jury can declare a man guilty unless it's sure.
Well, Platoon was made by a Vietnam combat veteran, and Oliver Stone, so that was a deeply personal point of view, and it made all the difference.
Fire it all!
When all the guns have been emptied and all the shots have been fired, you have to live and sleep with yourself, you know, and wake up with those memories.
I think now, looking back, we did not fight the enemy. We fought ourselves. Yes?
We've come to make up your room.
Are those my hard-boiled eggs?
I can't tell until they get in the room. Come on in, girls, and leave all hope behind.
One of my favorite movies of all time, and a lesson to me, was A Night at the Opera, because it's so well constructed.
I came to mop up.
Just the woman I'm looking for. Come right ahead. You'll have to start on the ceiling. It's the only place that isn't being occupied.
They are anarchists, they are crazy, and yet they have a certain kind of charm and warmth that's indefinable.
Ah, come right ahead.
Hey,
do it.
Roscoe, the food!
Been waiting all afternoon for you,
Come to the food. Come on.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
At that particular time, with the hippies and all, we had our own art, we had our own poetry, we had our own music. We didn't have our own movie.
Boy, I sure wish I was going with you. Yeah? You got a helmet? Oh, I've got a helmet. I got a beauty.
If you wanna be a bird.
There was an audience out there that had never really been addressed, you know, which was the young audience. And they just poured to the theaters to see it.
All we represent to them, man, is somebody who needs a haircut.
Oh, no. What you represent to them is freedom.
What the hell's wrong with freedom, man? That's what it's all about.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what it's all about, all right. But talking about it and being it, that's two different things. I mean, it's real hard to be free when you are bought and sold in the marketplace.
Got the hand!
In spite of the wonderful, massive action that exists in Titanic, what resonates with people is the love story.
I saw that in a Nickelodeon once, and I always wanted to do it.
Those young people, Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, caught the imagination of this generation the way Bergman and Bogart did in Casablanca 60 years before.
When this ship docks, I'm getting off with you.
This is crazy.
I know. It doesn't make any sense. That's why I trusted.
You fall in love with the characters. And that's why, in my opinion, Titanic, equals Casablanca as an iconic love story.
Never let go.
I will never let go, Jack. I'll never let go.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
I'm going to tell you something now I have never told anybody.
Hello.
Grandma says hi.
Where's what? My intercostal clavicle.
Your what?
My bone. We're trying to put a guilty man in the chair where he belongs.
Figured why should just the poor kids go off to war and the rich kids always get away with it?
Don't you know what duplicates are?
Sure, there's 5 kids up in Canada.
Lord have mercy, is that what that is?
Up next, gladiators in gumshoes, cowboys and cannibals, when we return.
One of the biggest things to remember about when silent films were first seen is that they weren't silent. The big pictures, they had an orchestra. One of the things that's most amazing about Sunrise, which people don't know, is that everything you see in that picture was very sophisticated use of the various movie techniques. Sunrise could arguably be called the climax of the silent film.
Spartacus has one of my favorite moments in it in all of movies.
The terrible penalty of crucifixion has been set aside on the single condition that you identify the body or the living person of the slave called Spartacus.
Kirk Douglas, playing Spartacus, is about to get up to say, "I am Spartacus," when the guy next to him stands up.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus!
And before you know it, all 200 guys are on their feet saying, "I am Spartacus." And I think it's one of the great inspirational moments in movies.
Are we dressing for dinner?
You know, just come as you are.
So you're pretty good with that racket.
You should see my backhand.
Billy Wilder, to me, is a great writer, a really good director in the top handful of directors, but above all, he is a great filmmaker.
Watch the door, please. Blasting off.
Fran Kubelik was the every person character in the apartment, I think. She's a very conventional but very smart and, of course, warm and observant young woman.
You know that the average New Yorker between the ages of 20 and 50 has 2.5 colds a year.
Yeah, that makes me feel just terrible.
Why?
Well, to make the figures come out even, if I have no colds a year, some poor slob must have 5 colds a year.
Yeah, it's me.
Should have stayed in bed this morning.
You should have stayed in bed last night.
Billy grew a rose in a garbage pail with the love story between the two flawed characters that got together finally.
I love you, Miss Kubelik.
3. Queen.
Did you hear what I said, Miss Kubelik? I absolutely adore you.
Shut up and deal.
I think the Peck and Pop picture, The Wild Bunch, when it was released, I think it was 1969, and America was embroiled in Vietnam, and somehow the violence in the film brought it right home, right in our faces. And what was good about it for me is that I thought it didn't glorify the violence. I thought, and it showed you what violence really is, I think, and it's disturbing.
times. There's a rather savage indictment of, quote, modern times, the industrial age, which Chaplin was opposed to, and yet it made him a star. He never played the tramp again, and of course the last image of him going down the endless road at the end is, properly iconic moment.
I think All the President's Men accomplished something that's very hard to do, and that is make a thriller out of an event that's already taken place where you know exactly what's going to happen and you know the end.
We're about to accuse Haldeman, who only happens to be the second most important man in this country, of conducting a criminal conspiracy from inside the White House. It would be nice if we were right.
You double-checked your sources?
Bernstein, are you sure on this story?
Absolutely.
Woodward?
I'm sure.
I'm not.
It caught exactly what that whole business was about, that corruption in the Nixon administration. It was brilliantly done.
Bernstein got another source. The guy just is confirmed.
If there's any doubt, we can run it tomorrow.
You don't have to. The story's solid. We're sure of it. He's just got off the phone with gold.
Okay, we go with it.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Forrest Gump is filled full of moments that your heart just cheers because he's such an underdog and breaks what was once thought as his handicap. And in Forrest Gump, he does it again and again and again.
Virgil, that's a funny name for a nigger boy that comes from Philadelphia. What do they call you up there?
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Mr. Tibbs! Well, Mr. Wood, take Mr. Tibbs, take him down to the depot, and I mean boy like now.
Timing is everything. And this was at the peak of the racial struggle in America.
On your feet, boy.
Although it takes place in Sparta, Mississippi, it was shot in Sparta, Illinois.
I mean now.
It was too dangerous at that time to shoot a film like In the Heat of the Night in the Deep South.
You two came here to question me?
There was an event in that movie that happens that had never happened in cinema before.
Was Mr. Colbert ever in this greenhouse, say last night, about midnight?
It's a demarcation point. That's a huge moment in cinema. That's the slap that was heard around the world.
There was a time when I could have had you shot.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Well, the relationship between Clarice and Hannibal Lecter is a strange one. It has a father-daughter quality to it. It has a mentor-mentee quality to it.
Why do you think he removes their skins, Agent Starling? Throw me with your acumen.
It excites him. Most serial killers keep some sort of trophies from their victims.
I didn't.
No, you ate yours.
I love Silence of the Lambs, and Jodie Foster is my all-time favorite actor. The scene where the killer had on infrared glasses, and he could see her, but she could not see him. Terrifying. I had to sleep with the lights on after that for a while.
No, not yet. Not until me and Harvey get the rules straightened out.
Rules? In a knife fight? No rules.
Well, if there ain't gonna be any rules, let's get the fight started. Someone count 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, go.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid introduced a kind of sophisticated humor that you were not accustomed to seeing in Westerns.
You're the brains, Butch. You'll think of something. That's a load off my mind.
When I was going to movies as a kid, I didn't understand exactly what chemistry was, but those guys obviously, had this connection and they balanced each other in such a great way.
I'll jump first.
Nope.
Then you jump first.
No, I said.
What's the matter with you?
I can't swim!
Why, you crazy? The fall will probably kill you.
The script is one of the best scripts ever, but there's no way that you can say that, then they have a great moment where they, where they sparkle on screen and everybody feels wonderful. I mean, people do write that in scripts, but it doesn't really happen that often.
As long as we live, we must stay true to ourselves.
That's the way it crumbles, cookie-wise.
When you side with a man, you stay with him, and if you can't do that, you're like some animal.
Nothing's writing on this except the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad.
I got the motive, which is money, and the body, which is dead.
Memory agents, darling, is what I have instead of a view.
Who are those guys?
Coming up, war between nations and spouses as AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies continues. For a list of tonight's movies, go to AOL Movie Phone, afi.aol.com.
When you make a movie, there are many powers at play. The writing, and the acting, and the directing, and the countless people who come together to tell a story. There is no magic formula for excellence, but you try, and you hope that a film you are part of will be one that stands the test of time. So imagine my pride.
Let me tell you something, my friend. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane. It's got no use on the inside. You better get used to that idea.
The Shawshank Redemption, the metaphors, if you will, were chosen with such a rare degree of originality and theatricality.
I tell you, those voices soared higher and farther than anybody in a great place dares to dream. It was like some beautiful bird flapped into our drab little cage and made those walls dissolve away. And for the briefest of moments, every last man at Shawshank felt free.
Listening to that aria, that scene that just takes your breath away. That's like Cool Hand Luke. That's like, you can't get him down.
I am warning you, Dufresne. Turn that off!
Stand out of your weapons. Keep those actions clear. I'll see you on the beach.
Saving Private Ryan was never meant to be thrilling. It was never meant to be an adventure.
What's the rallying point? Anywhere but here!
It was meant to be a kind of a documentation of the closest I could get to the experiences of those who fought there. It was ugly because it was honest, and it had to be ugly because that's the way it was. I've had an abiding respect for military people ever since I was a little boy. And Stephen Ambrose, he was the first writer, the first biographer that really got into the DNA of a combat veteran.
I don't know anything about Ryan. I don't care. Man means nothing to me. It's just a name. But if going to Ramel and finding him so he can go home, if that earns me the right to get back to my wife, well, then that's my mission.
Clockwork Orange. The movie became prophetic because it foretold gang violence, which of course there was then, but it wasn't so sophisticated as it is today.
Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. I'm with
this movie is about the right to choose. It's as simple as that. The right to choose how we live our life.
It's wrong because it's like against society. It's wrong because everybody has the right to live and be happy without being told, chopped and knifed.
No, boy, you really must leave it to us. But be cheerful about it. In less than a fortnight now, you will be a free man.
Tootsie, it's the story of a man who, by virtue of masquerading as a woman, learns how to be a better man.
You couldn't wear pants?
No, pants, I can't.
What about this thing?
No, I don't have the right shoes for it. I hate the way the horizontal lines make me look too hippie, and it cuts me across the bust.
I think we're getting into a weird area here.
If I was going to be a woman, I would want to be as beautiful as possible. And they said to me, that's as beautiful as we can get you, Charlie.
I'd like to make her look a little more attractive. How far can you pull back?
How do you feel about Cleveland?
Knock it off.
Talking to my wife, I said, I have to make this picture. And she said, why? And I said, because I think I'm an interesting woman when I look at myself on screen. And I know that if I met myself at a party, I would never talk to that character because she doesn't fulfill physically the demands that we're brought up to think women have to have in order for us to ask them out. She says, what are you saying? And I said, there's too many interesting women I have not had the experience to know in this life because I have been brainwashed, and that was never a comedy for me.
Tootsie, take 10.
Ron, my name is Dorothy. It's not Tootsie or Toots or Sweetie or Honey or Dow.
Oh, no.
No, just Dorothy. Now, Alan's always Alan, Tom is always Tom, and John's always John. I have a name, too. It's Dorothy, capital D-O-R-O-T-H-Y. Dorothy. Excuse me, doctor.
You don't look like no rootin', tootin' son of a bitch and cold-blooded assassin.
I wanted to make a statement that the Western was based upon myth.
Say what?
And created by characters who exaggerated the myth of it all.
Why don't you shoot? What's going on, Ned? Well, ain't you gonna shoot?
It had everything that you would think in a Western genre going against it. You know, it sort of shot down its own myth.
It's a hell of a thing, killing a man. You take away all he's got, and all he's ever gonna have.
Oh, you're dead.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? That was really an edgy, great script, unusual characters, really gutsy performance, and very brave to do.
You see, George didn't have much push. He wasn't particularly aggressive. In fact, he was sort of a flop. A great, big, fat flop.
Stop it, Mother.
I hope that was an empty bottle, George. You can't afford to waste good liquor. Not on your salary, not on an associate professor's salary.
I thought that Elizabeth's performance was marvelous. She gave him a really hard time, but you knew that she adored him and loved him. And actually, Elizabeth in life was like that. She would drive men crazy.
You're gonna get it, baby.
Be careful, Martha. I'll rip you to pieces.
You're not man enough. You haven't the guts.
Total war?
Total.
Raiders of the Lost Ark starts out with a bang and never really lets you breathe. I don't like to be around somebody who doesn't have a sense of humor, so I look for moments of lightness to share with the audience.
I just had one of the best times of my entire life working on that picture. And it was like recreating a Saturday matinee. It was a cliffhanger.
Well, The African Queen is the story of two people going down this river who really have nothing in common with each other.
You are a liar, Mr. Allnut. And what is worse, you are a coward.
Ooh, coward yourself. You ain't no lady. No, miss. That's what my poor old mother would say to you.
And there they are traveling along this river. And along the way, they learn to love each other.
Dear, what is your first name?
Charlie.
Charlie. That's a nice name, Charlie. Charlie.
Give us a kiss.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
When America heard that, that's how they felt. Patty Chayefsky had a nerve.
You've got to get mad. You've got to say, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore."
They're yelling in Baton Rouge.
Get up, get up, get up out of your chair.
Son of a bitch! We struck the mother lode!
Faye Dunaway was not only unbelievable to look at, but she used everything down to her fingernails to get what she wanted.
By tomorrow, he'll have a 50 share, maybe even a 60. Howard Beale is processed instant God, and right now it looks like he may just go over bigger than Mary Tyler Moore.
I am not putting Howard back on the air.
It's not your show anymore, Max. It's mine.
By my hair.
The funny thing about Cabaret, about the movie, is that people think it's going to be light. It's going to be all, like a musical. And it's not. It is a musical about the Nazi era and what happened to people.
Money, 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 money.
There's always been a Sally Bowles in every era. There's always the girl who wants to be divinely decadent.
Start by admitting from cradle.
And that's what I think the movie says. It says, when everybody's playing a little bit too much, watch out.
Life is a cabaret, old chum. It's only a cabaret, old chum. And I love a cabaret.
Send you here for life? That's exactly what they did.
It doesn't make any sense, sir. Why? Why me? Why do I deserve to go?
I taught you much, my little droogies.
How about a Duvernay with a twist?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's a lovely glass.
We all have it coming, Betty.
I wear the pants in the house because somebody's got to.
I learned to hate you in the last 10 years.
Nothing a man can't do if he believes in himself. Never say die, that's my motto.
You people are the real thing. We are the illusion.
Divine decadence.
Up next, America's greatest movies take us to Alaska, Korea, and Music City, USA.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight.
It's an unusually warm and kind of generous movie, and give a lot of actors a really important break.
What did you say? Wait, what did you say? What did you say?
Everybody said this script is ridiculous. It has no story, has no characters. It's nothing more than a musical montage, and nobody really wanted to have anything to do with it.
Your car's so neat, we're gonna give you our special prize. You want me to give it to you?
Hey, sweetheart, if the prize is you, I'm a ready Teddy.
Well, get bent, turkey.
I want this picture to be a document. I want to hold a mirror up to life. I want this to be a picture of dignity, a true canvas of the suffering of humanity.
But with a little sex.
With a little sex in it.
This film is about the power of what laughter can do. There is a scene in Sullivan's Travels where he is in this work prison and the prisoners are invited for a little celebration and they end up watching a Pluto cartoon. And in the depths of misery, together, they sit and they laugh hysterically. They forget their worries, and they are truly entertained. And I said, yes, I knew I chose the right profession. This is what I want to do. I want to truly, deeply entertain people with animation.
When anyone asks me, who did you not have a chance to meet? I'd have to say Harpo, Groucho, Chico.
This is Vera Markel, the famous dancer.
Is that so? Can you do this one?
A little bit of political humor and a lot of anarchy is right up my alley. Duck Soup was a piece of brilliance.
This is Rufus T. Firefly coming to you through the courtesy of the enemy. We're in a mess, folks. We're in a mess. Rush to Fredonia. 3 men and 1 woman are trapped in the building. Send help at once. If you can't send help, send 2 more women. Make it 3 more women.
Go get a goo-goo, friends, and settle back for 30 of the goodest minutes in radio. The Goo-Goo Grand Ole Opry.
Nashville, it's really an American epic. It's epic with character and story, layered stories. It reflects our society at the time, and maybe even now, because I think the film really holds up that way.
It's not my way to take your hand if I'm not sure. It's not my way to let you see what's going on inside of me. When it's a love you won't be needing, you're not free. But I'm easy. Yeah, I'm easy. If the word I play your game is, oh, that's how it ought to be, because I'm easy.
What's fascinating about Chaplin is that his Little Tramp became the most widely known silhouette in the 20th century. A lot of his films featured things that he would do at dinner parties for years, and then he'd put it into the movie.
I remember the dance with the 2 potatoes. I actually duplicated once for my son when he was 1. I did it with 2 yams, and it's not as good because they're pointed, and it's a whole Arabic thing. It looks more, you know.
And there's the bell for round 1. The most publicized fight of the ages. The fighters come into the center of the ring, looking at each other.
Rocky seemed to me to be a guy who was a bit of all of us. All he wanted was a chance to go to the distance, to prove himself, and needless to say, he got the chance.
Hard work in the right combination. What is keeping him up, Bill? I don't know. Can't even get his gloves up to protect him. He's a fastest now,
Bill. Rocky, for us Philadelphians, is, you know, an institution.
Down, down, stay down. Apollo dancing around with his arms in the air.
For me, as an audience member, it was the first time I'd ever felt pure inspiration in a movie. It's this moment where he's hitting the side of Apollo Creed, and that music's like dun dun, and you just start feeling this high, and you're going, oh my God, you can do this in the movies? The magic of Jaws was Stephen's ability to terrify you without ever showing you anything.
I did not intend Jaws to be a movie where you had to wait an hour to see the shark. Only because the shark didn't work did you have to wait the hour to see the darn thing.
Come on, Hooper, come on, hurry up, tie it on!
North by Northwest. I think it's unquestionably the most entertaining Hitchcock film. And the fact that Cary Grant is in virtually every moment of it doesn't exactly hurt, because he's at the peak of his charm in that movie.
The moment I meet an attractive woman, I have to start pretending I've no desire to make love to her.
What makes you think you have to conceal it?
She might find the idea objectionable.
Then again, she might not.
I love playing that sexy spy lady. That's the fun of acting. I mean, I'm not a sexy spy lady, but it'd be fun to be one for a while, especially with Cary Grant.
The elements about MASH were that it was funny, and it was, underneath it all, it was a tragic story about war and what it does to people. And, of course, get to see a nude woman.
I wonder how a degenerated person like that could have reached a position of responsibility in the Army Medical Corps.
He was drafted.
When I saw MASH, I mean, I saw just that stuff, they're playing golf and the next moment they're in surgery.
That's him on the right. Wait.
The stuff that people do when you have, to keep going in the face of insanity.
My God, they've shot him!
Hot lips, you incredible nincompoop. It's the end of the quarter.
Stevie, come down!
The Deer Hunter is an extraordinary work, and Christopher Walken in The Deer Hunter is a revelation. And he and De Niro together were breathtaking.
How are you?
I'm gonna Willis out of here.
How?
You got an empty chamber in that gun. Put an empty chamber in that gun.
It was a look at the war and the horrible destructiveness that carried over like an overtone beyond the battlefield itself.
Come on. I don't fit. Look. Hey, I'm gonna take you home. Man, look. You promised me, man. I don't fit. Michael.
I'm one of those people who believes that Taxi Driver is probably one of the greatest American movies ever made. It was the beginning of an American consciousness and film of the anti-hero.
You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here.
I just related to Paul Schrader's script and his character, Travis Bickle, as a person who's an outsider, a person who doesn't belong, a person who's been rejected.
I love him.
Pretty much everything is seen through his eyes. So you begin to identify with him. And then when he crosses the line from sanity to insanity, that's the danger, and that's the tragedy.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay, and I pity any girl who's in me today.
West Side Story was between the Puerto Ricans and the whites and the New York scene and gangs.
It was a very serious film. It was indeed Romeo and Juliet set to music.
For here you are, and what was just a world is a start to
Rock and roll's been going downhill ever since Buddy Holly died.
How does a girl fit in this picture?
There's always a girl in the picture. Haven't you ever been to the movies?
I can see you right now in the kitchen, bending over a hot stove. But I can't see the stove.
This isn't Dallas, it's Nashville. Oh, man, this is Nashville. You show them what we're made of.
Why do you want to fight?
Because I can't sing or dance. Hey, yo.
I'm not talking about hooking some poor dogfish or sand shark. I'm talking about finding a great white.
Not that I mind a slight case of abduction now and then, but I have tickets for the theater this evening.
This is not a hospital! It's an insane asylum!
This is this. This ain't something else. This is this. I'm standing here. You make a move. You make a move.
Every one of you hates every one of us, and we hate you right back. Let's get at it.
We've reached the halfway point, and up next, the newest film on the list and the oldest back to back.
The movies have always been a marriage of art and technology. Think of how the inventions of sound and color, special effects have changed the way we tell our tales. As we reach this halfway point in our countdown, and we look at the changes that 10 years bring, consider the new tools available to the artists, the dreamers, who can now take us to places where the imagination knows no boundaries.
I saw all of The Lord of the Rings. I was a big fan of the books, and the movie came off really well. It matched all of my imaginings of how that land might have been.
If you want him, come and claim him.
Peter Jackson used new techniques mixed with the old, with an extraordinary sense of showmanship. Lord of the Rings was the film that made this new technology viewer-friendly.
Intolerance was a film that conceptually was brilliant. To take 4 different stories about intolerance and put them through 4 different historical periods and have it culminate in a kind of fountain of history. The sets were gigantic, and they towered over Sunset Boulevard. And nobody had ever done anything remotely like it. Nobody has to this day.
If you could only see yourself.
What's the matter?
Sitting around looking out of the window to kill time is one thing, but doing it the way you are with binoculars and wild opinions about every little thing you see is disease.
What, do you think I'd consider it recreation?
I don't know what you consider it.
That maybe is one of Hitchcock's most suspenseful pictures of all the work he ever did. It's when Grace Kelly decides to go over there and investigate on her own.
Come on, get out of there.
While Mr. Thornton has gone out for a few minutes.
She said, ring Thorwald's phone the second you see him come back.
You got Thelma Ritter and you've got Jimmy Stewart not being able to cry out because he's coming home and she's stuck in his apartment.
What? Lisa. Lisa.
I mean, nothing beats that for suspense.
Please. Stella, what do we do?
Hey, Stella! Hey, Stella!
What I love about Streetcar is the old, genteel, sophisticated Southern lady encounters this Neanderthal from the north without any manners, with no grace.
Hey, you mind if I make myself comfortable? My shirt is sticking.
Please do.
Be comfortable. That's my motto up where I come from.
It's mine, too. It's hard to stay looking fresh in hot weather while I haven't washed or eaten powdered. Here you are.
The great thing about Marlon Brando and Vivian Leigh is that their relationship
seemed very tumultuous, very volatile, very intense.
You come in here and you sprinkle a place with powder and you spray perfume and you stick a paper lantern over the light bulb and lo and behold, the place is turning to Egypt and you are the queen of the Nile sitting on your throne swilling down my liquor. And you know what I say? Ha ha!
I'll stop a car and I won't use my thumb.
What are you going to do?
It's a system all my own.
It Happened One Night is one of the most perfect motion pictures. It is so funny and so sharp, yet it has such tremendous heart. And Clark Gable, you've been through the journey with him. You have fallen in love with Claudette Colbert, with him.
Do you love her? A normal human being couldn't live under the same roof with her without going nutty. She's my idea of nothing.
I asked you a simple question. Do you love her?
Yes! But don't hold that against me. I'm a little screwy myself.
Alan Ladd, who was a very small man in stature, but he seemed much, much larger than life in this particular film.
Shane, look out!
The first movie I ever saw was Shane, with Alan Ladd, Van Heflin, Gene Arthur, and Jack Palance. But the real star of the movie to me was Brandon DeWilde, who was the young boy star who I thought I looked like.
The Philadelphia Story is one of my favorites because to have Jimmy Stewart, Katharine Hepburn, and Cary Grant in one movie is amazing, and you felt like they really brought out the best in one another.
Hello, Dexter.
Hello, George.
Hello, Mike.
Cary Grant was an extraordinary performer and a great star, of course, and I envied the way he made his living. He got to stand around in beautiful suits, in beautiful apartments, saying beautiful things to beautiful women.
Dexter, are you sure?
Not the least bit risky, will you?
You bet. You didn't do it just to soften the blow.
No, Tracy.
No, to save my face.
Oh, it's a nice little
Oh,
face.
Dexter, I'll be yours now. I'll promise to be yours.
Be whatever you like. You're my redhead. You all set?
All set.
I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
Midnight Cowboy, that definitely is one of my favorite films of all time. And I think it's really one of the great New York films, too.
Everybody's talking at me. Can't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes of my mind. I won't let you leave my love behind.
The characterization of Ratso, Dustin and John Voight, so well defined.
Hey, listen, don't get sore or anything, okay?
I ain't sore.
I don't think I can walk anymore. I mean, I've been falling down a lot. I'm scared.
What are you scared of?
You know what they do to you when they know you can't. When they find out that you can't walk.
Good afternoon. This is the Barrow Gang. Now, if everybody will just take it easy, nobody will get hurt.
Bonnie and Clyde captured a fascination that this country has with rebellion. That sense of rebellion and struggle is part of the American fabric.
You got that? Yeah.
Hey, now.
It's the first time I really understood what a movie star was. I saw Warren Beatty, who was beautiful, and Faye Dunaway, equally as beautiful. They were one of, I think, the great movie teams of all time.
Wait.
There were markings.
You know, by tomorrow morning, there may not be any evidence left over in that apartment.
I've always depended on the kindness of a stranger.
Say, where'd you learn to duck? At finishing school?
Gun is as good or as bad as the man using it. Remember that.
C.K. Dexter Haven, I would like to talk to you. Let's go in the talking room.
A lot of rich women back there, Ralph. Begging for it, paying for it, too.
Well, I'm Miss Bonnie Parker, and this here's Mr. Clyde Barrow. We rob banks.
Coming up, AFI Goes 8 for more of America's greatest movies.
There's something about the way the special effects work and King Kong himself, the way he moves, that made him very lifelike. And still, for me, of course I'm older, but I still prefer that move over the digital moves. It gave him a kind of, gave him a soul.
With songs they have sung for 1,000 years.
The sound of music takes you from any place you might be that's not happy and makes you happy.
Together. When you know the notes to sing, you can sing most anything.
I love the sound of music. For all of the love of life that Julie Andrews represents and that she instills in these children. And Julie's voice. Oh.
Now then, Dimitri, you know how we've always talked about the possibility of something going wrong with the bomb. The bomb, Dimitri. The hydrogen bomb.
Dr. Strangelove is an absolute extraordinary movie, especially for its time. We were all terrified of the bomb and what the Russians were going to do to us, and Kubrick comes up with a satirical film about nuclear war.
Mr. President, I'm not saying we wouldn't get our hair mussed, but I do say no more than 10 to 20 million killed, tops. Depending on the breaks.
I will not go down in history as the greatest mass murderer since Adolf Hitler.
Perhaps it might be better, Mr. President, if you were more concerned with the American people than with your image in the history books.
For me, the most influential actor in films was Peter Sellers. To see one person play that many characters and to play each one of them differently, and each one so committed, especially, Dr. Strangelove himself. We will know that the Fuhrer is we, and then we...
Of course, it would be absolutely vital that our top government and military men be included to foster and impart the required principles of leadership and tradition.
We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
Everything about Treasure Sierra Madre was thrilling. It may be my favorite picture. Hey, we may have discovered my favorite picture.
I'll leave him alone. Can't you see that the old man's nuts?
Nuts! Nuts, am I? Let me tell you something, my two fine bedfellows. You're so dumb there's nothing to compare you with. You're dumber than the dumbest jackass. Look at each other, will you? Do you ever see anything like yourself for being dumb specimens?
What I just remember is Walter Houston doing that dance in Treasure Sierra Madre. It's such an image at the end that you've gone through all of this, and then it's all blown away in the wind.
Oh, laugh, Curtin, old boy. It's a great joke played on us by the Lord or fate or nature, whatever you prefer. But whoever or whatever played it certainly had a sense of humor. The gold has gone back to where we found it. Oh!
Hey, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Oh, my
Take it back. I'll be anything that you want. Hey, Millie, Peggy, step up and meet the gang. This is Homer, this is Fred.
There's a scene in The Best Years of Our Lives that I have to say is one of the 3 or 4 best scenes I've ever seen, and that's where the Frederick March character comes home.
Who's that at the door, Peggy? Peggy! Rob, who was...
She just stiffens up. She doesn't say a word, and it's one of the most beautiful family love scenes I've ever seen.
Bridge on the River Kwai was one of my favorite films simply because I'm a big fan of David Lean's.
Take a good look, Clifton. One day the war will be over. And I hope that the people who use this bridge in years to come will remember how it was built and who built it. Not a gang of slaves, but soldiers, British soldiers, Clifton, even in captivity.
The final scene where the bridge is blown up, that terrible dilemma of having to destroy everything that you built in order to strike a blow against the enemy. That's what war does.
What have I done?
There was no industrial light magic and computer drafting. That was a real train that went up with the bridge and the train. That stuff was real. Woo! That knocked me out.
And I love what you're wearing.
Oh, you do? Yeah? Oh, well, it's, this tie is a present from Grammy Hall.
Who? Grammy Hall?
Yeah, my Grammy.
What are you kidding? What'd you do, grow up in a Norman Rockwell painting?
Yeah, I know.
Your Grammy?
I know, it's pretty silly, isn't
She
it?
said my Grammy never gave gifts, you know? She was too busy getting raped by Cossacks.
It's very difficult to make a great romantic comedy. And Annie Hall just has all the obvious elements, but done in such a refreshing way.
I've been moody and dissatisfied.
How often do you sleep together?
Do you have sex often?
Hardly ever, maybe 3 times a week.
Constantly. I'd say 3 times a week.
Diane Keaton was my perfect girlfriend all through college. That's what I thought the perfect girl should be.
Do you love me?
I mean, love is too weak a word for... I love you. You know, I loathe you. I love you.
No.
With 2 F's, yes. I have to invent... Yeah, of course I...
Yeah.
Don't you think I do?
I don't know.
I can't seem to stop singing wherever I am.
Oh, the war must sing for it.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Fred C. Dobbs don't say nothing he don't mean.
I'm not an officer and a gentleman anymore. I'm just another soda jerk out of a job.
I don't care about your bridge, and I don't care about your rules.
Honey, there's a spider in your bathroom the size of a Buick.
It all started 10 years ago when AFI honored the 100 greatest movies of all time. Number 1 was Citizen Kane. Across the decade, AFI has honored the greatest screen legends, the funniest films, the most heart-pounding movies, the greatest love stories, and the greatest screen characters, the heroic and the horrific, the greatest movie songs, the greatest movie lines.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
And the most inspiring films.
As we celebrate this 10th anniversary of AFI's 100-year series, I want to take a moment to acknowledge 3 AFI trustees who have made these specials a landmark in the history of your American Film Institute. Lanier Timmerland, the man who started it all when he said AFI should honor the 100 greatest films. Fred Pierce, a legend in television, a legendary gentleman, and the driving force for this series at the AFI board table. And Leslie Moonves, the president and CEO of the CBS Corporation, who has provided these specials a home for 10 years. But if we were counting down the 100 people to thank for the success of this series, you know who'd be number 1? you. Not only for tuning in, but also for appreciating AFI's lists as a starting point for discovering and rediscovering the classics of American film. To get all the AFI lists from the last 10 years, log on to AFI.com and then enjoy the movies. They will enrich your life as they have enriched the world for over 100 years.
A Mighty Heart is the first truly great film of the year.
Danny had an interview and he didn't come home last night.
With one of the best performances in years.
Who is your contact?
Angelina Jolie is strong and true in every detail.
You can make the difference of helping Danny or nobody finds him.
She solidifies herself as one of the great actresses in the world in an Oscar-worthy performance.
I don't think this is the business of a journalist.
It's absolutely the business of a journalist.
A Mighty Heart. Rated R. Starts Friday everywhere.
My name is Alex Vega. I love America. I was an orphan when the Duques took me in. Pancho, he was like a father to me.
Papi, I love you.
His battles are my battles.
Duque name meant rum, okay, not sugar. Sugar is the new oil.
His family is my family.
Papi, whose side are you on, huh? His side or your family's?
You're both my family.
His daughter is my wife.
As of tomorrow, Alex will run the company.
This is not okay with me.
His enemies
We've let our neighbors dictate our sugar fortunes long enough.
are my enemies.
You will never threaten my family again. You send anyone else, I will come for you. I'm the one that you will deal with now.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is really an amazing motion picture. At that time, people did not believe an animation, a cartoon, could entertain an audience for a feature length.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs has that wonderful, fluid, human touch that only cell animation could get.
Nobody's gonna hurt you. Come on.
No!
You'll be all right. Come on.
No!
You're all right. No one's gonna hurt you.
No! Leave me alone!
Make it easy on yourself.
No!
Come on.
Hold me back!
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was the first time we really were taken, I think, inside a mental institution in a very believable way.
No, Mr. McMurphy. When the meeting was adjourned, the vote was 9-9.
Ah, come on. You're not going to say that now. You're not going to say that now. You're going to pull that hen house. Now, when the vote, the chief just voted, it was 10-9. Now, I want that television set turned on right now.
Nicholson is some kind of cosmic treat. And to work with him, everything is different every time. It's extraordinary.
Cuckoo's Nest, for me, is one of the great endings of all time, which is your protagonist fails, but someone gets inspired by the protagonist and then succeeds.
Godfather 2 is probably the best sequel ever made. It draws out the richness of the original while expanding on it. It involves young Vito Corleone. When he first came to America, you now see what shaped him as a young man coming over from the old country.
There's the old life, which is represented in the family unit, Sicilian code, and the new life of America. that's the dilemma, the old world as opposed to the new world. And that's when Michael has to walk those two, he has to walk that tightrope between the two.
There's a plane waiting for us to take us to Miami in an hour, all right? Don't make a big thing about it. I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. You broke my heart.
I tell you right out, I'm a man who likes talking to a man who likes to talk.
Swell. Will we talk about the blackbird?
You're the man for me, sir. No beating about the bush, right to the point.
I would have to say Maltese Falcon is certainly in my top 5 films. Of course, Humphrey Bogart at his absolute best. No sentimentality here at all.
Here's another one for you. She Killed Miles. Oh, and I've got some exhibits.
The boys' guns, one of Cairo's, and a $1,000 bill I was supposed to be bribed with. And this black statuette here that all the fuss was about.
It's actually a very simple film, but extremely finely executed.
What is it?
The stuff that dreams are made of.
Huh?
This is the end, beautiful friend.
It was the veterans who saw Apocalypse Now and began to talk about it publicly and say, if you want to know what Vietnam was like, from our experience, Apocalypse Now was it.
Your mission is to proceed up the Nung River in a Navy patrol boat. Pick up Colonel Kurtz's path at New Mung Ba. Follow it, learn what you can along the way. When you find the colonel, infiltrate his team by whatever means available, and terminate the colonel's command.
The film felt strangely sort of psychedelic and yet very real.
Work out, please! Get down, Bubba!
What the movie says is that war is madness, that this is a human endeavor that we spend entirely too much time on. It only results in us behaving horribly to each other.
You can't travel in space. You can't go out into space, without, with fractions. What are you going to land on, 1/4, 3/8? What are you going to do when you go from here to Venus or something?
There was nothing written, and it was all improvised. And Marlon starts throwing bananas at me at one point. And I said, I'm out of here. That's it, man. Yeah.
Are you an assassin? I'm a soldier. You're neither. You're an errand boy, sent by grocery clerks to collect a bill.
What are you honking the horn for?
Stanwyck's work in Double Indemnity is just, it's cold, it's frightening, it's calculating, and yet you're drawn to her through the whole film. You can understand how Fred McMurray just gets pulled in and pulled in and pulled in, and it's a astounding piece of work.
Mr. Neff, why don't you drop by tomorrow evening around 8:30? He'll be in then.
Who?
My husband. You were anxious to talk to him, weren't you?
Yeah, I was, but I'm sort of getting over the idea, if you know what I mean.
There's a speed limit in this state, Mr. Neff. 45 miles an hour.
How fast was I going, officer?
I'd say around 90.
Suppose you get down off your motorcycle and give me a ticket.
Suppose I let you off with a warning this time.
Suppose it doesn't take.
Suppose I have to whack you over the knuckles.
Suppose I bust out crying and put my head in your shoulder.
Suppose you try putting it on my husband's shoulder.
That tears it.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
All About Eve is one of the few films about show business that reached everyone.
Have you really seen every performance?
Yes.
Why? I'm curious.
Well, if I didn't come to see the play, I wouldn't have anywhere else to go.
There are other plays.
Not with you in them.
The personification of ambition that's in Eve Harrington is what's treacherous.
Cora is my part. You've got to tell Lloyd it's for me. I don't think anything in the world would make me say that. Addison wants me to play it. Over my dead body.
When I look at High Noon, I think of a family story. My father and Gary had to do this really brutal fight underneath the horses.
Get on that horse, Will.
Why is it so important to you? You don't care if I live or die.
Come on.
Don't shove me, Harv. I'm tired of being shoved.
My brother asked if he could watch the fight. He was like maybe 8 years old. He said, well, you get up in the hayloft, but you got to be very quiet. And Gary Cooper takes this big bucket of water and throws it on my father. Dead silence, then you hear this tittering of this little kid laughing up in the hayloft. It ruined the whole scene. They had to shoot it all over again.
Old Granny knows a young girl's heart.
Ah, Jesus. I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. It's just my enemies.
You stupid fat you!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
They've committed a murder. It's not like taking a trolley ride together where they can get off at different stops.
Not mouse, never mouse. If anything, rat.
It looks like Frank Miller's coming back on the noon train.
For a list of tonight's movies, go to AOL Movie Phone, afi.aol.com.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington has one of the great Jimmy Stewart performances. I think the whole idea of the character, this sort of Middle Western innocent that comes to the cynical town of Washington, and how that's conveyed and sold to the audience is beautifully done. It was enormously controversial in its day, by the way.
I wouldn't give you 2 cents for all your fancy rules if behind them they didn't have a little bit of plain, ordinary, everyday kindness. And a little looking out for the other fella, too.
In this country, our courts are the great levelers. In our courts, all men are created equal.
I think if I had to pick just one film to which I had a very strong reaction and can remember vividly how I felt, it would be To Kill a Mockingbird.
Tom, did you rape Mayella Ewell? I did not, sir.
Atticus was willing to defend this black man in this town in 1930-something who was falsely accused of raping this white lady. He loses the case, and the only thing they can do to acknowledge what a gesture that is and what a decent human being he is to stand up for him, because he was willing to stand up for one of them. And it gets me every time. It totally wrecks me.
Gee Louise, stand up. Your father's passed.
E.T. just goes off the cliff and then goes right across the moon, and I think for me that was such an inspirational moment, but I didn't know it was going to have any kind of resonance for anybody else.
I showed E.T. for my kids, and I just sat here on the verge of tears again,
because I just was so awed about what happened there.
I'll be right here.
Oh, thank God, thank God. Tommy.
Ma. Grapes of Wrath, a John Ford epic. My father had a way of taking to film and using one man that made a difference. One man stands up against the face of authority. This is fabulous filmmaking.
Ma, there comes a time when a man gets mad.
You told me you promised
I
me you
know,
wasn't
Ma,
like
I'm
that, Tom.
trying
You
to.
promised.
If there was a law they was working with, maybe we could take it, but it ain't the law. They're working away in our spirits. They're trying to make us cringe and crawl, working on our decency.
You promised, Tom.
I know. I'm trying to, Ma, honest I am.
Gotta keep clear. The families are breaking up. You gotta keep clear.
What's that, a detour?
Grapes of Wrath gave me my earliest sense of what a soul means. What happens to someone after they die.
I'll be all around in the dark. I'll be everywhere, wherever you can look. Wherever there's a fight so hungry people can eat, I'll be there. Wherever there's a cop beating up a guy, I'll be there.
I think it's one of the most beautiful speeches in the history of movies.
And when the people are eating the stuff they raise and living in the houses they build, I'll be there too.
If there's ever anything I can do for you,
I can think of a million things. That's one of them.
I could only see Marilyn in it, you know. I thought she was so wonderful in it. She invented that character and that personality, and my hat's off to her for that, because she came up with a ripper.
I think you're on the right track.
I must be. Your glasses are beginning to steam up.
Some Like It Hot is the iconic cross-dressing movie, and there's a great scene that Billy Wilder was always so proud of where Jack Lemmon has maracas, and he's up in his bedroom after this night that the two men have spent with their suitors, and they talk about this night that they've had.
What happened? I'm engaged. Congratulations. Who's the lucky girl? I am.
When you get letters from Portugal and from Nicaragua and also from North Carolina, that this is the best thing they've ever seen in their lives. I mean, that makes me blush a little bit, and I take it for what it's worth.
But you don't understand, Osgood. I'm a man. Well, nobody's perfect.
When I was doing Chinatown, what I really wanted to do was a story about a crime in a detective movie that normally is not in detective movies. And I thought, why don't we just do a story about a gigantic crime, water and power.
Gonna be a lot of irate citizens when they find out that they're paying for water that they're not gonna get.
Oh, that's all taken care of. See, Mr. Gibbs, either you bring the water to L.A. or you bring L.A. to the water.
It's one of the movies that I think truly harkens back in a serious and profound way to those early film noirs.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
Yay! Hello, Bedford Falls! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, George! Merry Christmas, George!
It's a Wonderful Life. It's a great experience. I am an alternative history freak. I love the what if of history. Who would have thunk, that a guy could be shown so clearly what his effect on the world would be like.
Your brother, Harry Bailey,
broke through the ice and was drowned at the age of 9.
That's a lie. Harry Bailey went to war. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor. He saved the lives of every man on that transport.
Every man on that transport died. Harry wasn't there to save them because you weren't there to save Harry.
It shows that every human being on the planet Earth matters. Every single human being on the face of the planet makes a difference, and Capra started with that. And he told a story which is, it's like a 5-hanky movie.
To my big brother George, the richest man in town.
Somebody will listen to me.
You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view.
I'm 4'6". Must be around.
We'll go on forever, Pa, because we're the people.
You wouldn't be caught dead with men. Rough, hairy beasts.
And I still think that you're hiding something.
Zuzu pedals! Zuzu! There they are!
Coming up, films that take us to the outer reaches of space and the inner depths of madness.
You're a cheap, lousy, dirty, stinking mug! And I'm glad what I've done to you! You hear that? I'm glad what I've done!
That's one of those movies that the story and the acting, and especially because Marlon Brando is so revered by actors, that performance is something that you just kind of roll around in. It's so deep. It's so full.
You was my brother, Charlie. You should have looked out for me a little bit. You should have taken care of me just a little bit so I wouldn't have to take them dives for the short end money.
Well, I had some bets down for you. You saw some money.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. Instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it. It was you, Charlie.
Well, The General is one of the great films of all time, and Keaton was, for me, the great comedy director of the silent era. The shtick he does with that train, I mean, it's just extraordinary.
Buster Keaton was perhaps the funniest of all of the silent comics to me. He was stunning in his physical ability. There are moments in many of the movies that are just poetic and scary. There were no stuntmen. He did everything.
Yes, I am.
Plastics.
Exactly how do you mean?
There's a great future in plastics. Think about it. Will you think about it?
Yes, I will.
Enough said. That's a deal.
You know, when I first read The Graduate, I thought it was the best, most wonderful, funniest script I had ever read because for the first time, a script was making fun of sex.
Here we are. You got me into your house. You give me a drink. You put on music. Now you start opening up your personal life to me and tell me your husband won't be home for hours.
So?
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
Mike Nichols, Anne Bancroft, and myself all felt the same about acting, meaning there's no such a thing as comedy. There's no such a thing as drama. It's life. It's never one without the other.
Angela!
Elaine. What are you doing?
Elaine, I have to tell you something.
What is it?
That woman.
What?
That woman, that older woman that I told you about.
You mean that
yes,
one?
the married woman. That wasn't just some woman.
What are you telling me? Benjamin, will you just tell me what this is all about?
Wait a minute. Haven't I seen you before? I know your face.
Get out, or shall I call my servant?
You're Norma Desmond. Used to be in silent pictures. Used to be big.
I am big. It's the pictures that got small.
Sunset Boulevard is probably, I think, one of
the best movies about Hollywood ever. Not that I'm going out on a limb saying that, because I think it's a lot of people's favorite Hollywood movie.
Those idiot producers. Those imbeciles. Haven't they got any eyes? Have they forgotten what a star looks like? I'll show them. I'll be up there again, so help me.
This woman had nothing else to live for but her past fame, and when that became passé, they were no longer writing roles for her. She had lost her mind.
You see, this is my life. It always will be. There's nothing else. Just us. And the cameras. And those wonderful people out there in the dark. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Many of the things that we anticipated in the film we've seen in my own lifetime. I mean, that is really spooky.
Look at 2001. Can you imagine anyone coming up with a film that could shock everybody like that film did? Stanley Kubrick thought in large terms.
I'm delighted that it has been recognized in this way, though I think that most of the credit should go to Kubrick.
Psycho is a movie that's really about surprise. It was the original Sixth Sense. It was a film that, kept hidden a tremendous, jolting twist.
Do you go out with friends?
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
There was a flash in the parlor scene where you just saw the evil taking over just for a second, and then he put it right back.
She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes. Haven't you?
That, to me, that glimpse is extremely frightening.
I happened to be there at the very first screening of Psycho in New York. When we got to the shower scene, you couldn't hear the track. The entire audience was screaming. I've never heard anything like it. I mean, this sustained screams.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
You're who?
I'm here to rescue you. I've got your R2 unit. I'm here with Ben Kenobi.
Ben Kenobi? Where is he?
Come on.
The basic concept of Star Wars was that it was made in the style of these B action adventure movies, and I really wanted it to be an old-fashioned Errol Flynn kind of movie.
Good luck.
As soon as they jumped into hyperspace, it was like I was part of that movie. It's like I was stuck to my seat. I could feel the G-forces. Okay, here we go. We're going. It was the most incredible cinematic experience I'd had to date.
I got him! Great kid! Don't get cocky!
It was the first time we'd really seen computer-generated special effects that had such power. And the film really influenced filmmaking for the next 20 years.
We'll find him in the end, I promise you. We'll find him. Just as sure as the turning of the earth.
It's 1956. I'm a product of post-war America. And up on the screen is this Ethan Edwards character. And I think the conflict of America is there in his face and in his soul in that picture.
Why don't you finish the job?
What good did that do you?
Why, what you preach, none. But what that Comanche believes, ain't got no eyes, he can't enter the spirit land. Has to wander forever between the winds. You get it, Reverend. Come on, blanket head.
The interesting thing about Wayne's character is you love him and you hate him at the same time. And this was something very honest and real.
When I first saw The Searchers, it was a terrific cowboy and Indian picture. But as I got older and saw The Searchers numerous times, I realized it had much deeper meanings than that. It arouses your passions and certainly challenges you to try to like Ethan Edwards because he's a racist.
No, Ethan! No!
Let's go home, Debbie.
City Lights is pure genius. I loved Chaplin. He was a great gift to all of us. I mean, this guy was a monumental genius, and, you know, it's great to be somewhat in his shadow.
I still think City Lights is maybe the best picture I've ever seen because I felt so deeply involved with the people themselves. There were moments in it that are just sheer genius, and especially, of course, at the end when he confronts, when he confronts the girl and she realizes who the little tramp really was. Superb filmmaking.
Who killed my brother?
The Singleman Party, sir?
Oh, yes, the Singleman Party.
They want to see me, Norma Desmond.
The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made.
Oh, God, Mother! Blood! Blood!
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Don't need to call me sir either. Or grandpa.
When we return, AFI reveals the 10 greatest American films of all time as the countdown continues. AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies is sponsored by The Home Depot. Share your inspiring story at homedepot.com. Buy Nice and Easy with a blend of 3 tones for ultimate natural-looking color. And by Paramount Home Entertainment, The Godfather DVD Collection.
10 movies remain, a place of honor in American film. I'm going to let you in on a couple of secrets. Only one film in the top 10 holds the same position it held 10 years ago. And there are new films in the group too. But when you look at what makes them special, you know that times may change, but these movies will endure. And ultimately, we're reminded of the power of film as a place we all call home.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby.
The Wizard of Oz was so innovative, but they almost cut that song, which would have been terrible. They left it in, and it became the dream song and the hope song for everybody. But it's not just the song. It's the way my mother sang it.
Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me.
It was the first time I saw a movie that allowed me to dream. I lived in a little town in Cleveland, and I really couldn't see outside of the boundaries of my own backyard either. And with this movie, I got to travel to this magical place.
You're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. You'll find he is a whiz of a whiz, if ever a whiz there was. If ever, oh, ever a whiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does. You're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Vertigo is one of the most complex of Hitchcock's films. It's about someone who falls so in love with a character that after he knows she's dead, he believes her to be alive. It's one of the great mystery stories ever filmed.
Please, just let me talk to you.
What about?
You,
Why?
because you remind me of somebody.
I heard that one before, too.
It features an extraordinarily intense, deeply neurotic performance by Jimmy Stewart. Very modern in that sense. I don't think there's ever been a greater performance of a man suffering from lost love.
Well, I'll wear the darn clothes if you want me to, if you'll just like me.
Color of your hair.
No.
Hitchcock could tell us the most absurd stories, and we believed them, because he dealt with some pretty weird stuff.
All you have to do is tell me what it's worth to you. What's a person worth?
No. What's one worth to you?
Schindler's List is like looking through a tiny little pinhole at the most monstrous event of man's inhumanity against man in recorded history.
That's it.
This is really cruel, Oscar. You're giving them hope. You shouldn't do that. That's cruel.
Come on.
The great story of Schindler's List and of Liam Neeson's character in Schindler's List is that he wasn't a man that went out and did enormous things. He did the small things that he was capable of.
Thank you. How many?
400, 450.
More.
All of us on the set had this enormous privilege of being the voice of that terrible period and saying to the audience, ladies and gentlemen, it breaks my heart to tell you, but it's all true.
The list is an absolute good. The list is life.
When we made Lawrence of Arabia, we made it in Arabia. We were 400 miles from the nearest water. Wow.
So long as the Arabs fight tribe against tribe, so long will they be a little people, a silly people, greedy, barbarous, and cruel, as you are.
The epic scale of it and the visual strength of it were just amazing. I had occasion to re-look at it again not so long ago, and it's pretty intimidating as a piece of visual work. Amazing.
This is probably my favorite movie, and it's because I think I identify with the fact that he is an outsider, that he comes into this culture, and that he excels inside of this culture.
have to make a dash for it before the fire reaches that ammunition.
Well, Gone with the Wind is the ultimate example of the best production of the Hollywood studio system of the first half of the century. There's no doubt about that.
Vivien Leigh was so staggeringly beautiful and fiery, and Rhett Butler too. I mean, everyone looked beautiful in their clothing. Everyone looked exquisite.
You do waltz divinely, Captain Butler.
Don't start flirting with me. I'm not one of your plantation beaux.
The key to Gone with the Wind is Clark Gable. The Vivien Leigh character gets all the fireworks and all the great heaving chest moments, but it's Clark Gable doing the heavy lifting.
Red, where are you going?
I'm going to Charleston, back where I belong.
Please take me with you.
No. I'm through with everything here. I want peace. I want to see if somewhere there isn't something left in life of charm and grace. You know what I'm talking about?
No. I only know that I love you.
That's your misfortune.
Red, if you go, where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning.
It's great to stay up late. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Well, I think we rehearsed that number at least 6 weeks easily, and I probably rehearsed that number 3 months because I had never danced. So to dance with Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor, I was thinking, how did I do that?
We joked with Arthur Freed, the producer, about the song Singing in the Rain. And we said, Arthur, we have an absolutely great idea for how we're going to do that number. And he said, how? I said, well, in Singing in the Rain, we're going to actually sing in the rain.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again.
It's all enormous detail, down to where the puddles are going to be and when he splashes in them, on what beat.
Down for the third time, and the referee is pulling LaMotta away.
And when I think of Raging Bull, I think back of the time of making it, how I was feeling, and the Jake LaMotta character that I felt I had some sort of emotional or psychological connection to.
I'd like to introduce the world's leading middleweight contender, the Bronx Bull, the Raging Bull. Let's hear for the great Jake LaMotta, ladies and gentlemen.
Raging Bull is Marty's masterpiece. The choice of shooting that film in black and white was extraordinary. It somehow put me more in the reality of that period than anything else he could have done. You know, the life outside the ring was actually more brutal than the punches exchanged inside. And the island he created for himself until he's a fat failure in a cheap nightclub.
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh.
Casablanca is a triumph of the filmmaking process. It's like what makes a good meal. a great chef, of course, but the ingredients have to be perfection. In this case, they are.
Who are you really, and what were you before? What did you do, and what did you think, huh?
We said no questions.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Everybody holds it out as the benchmark of great love stories because great love stories have sacrifice in them. Great love stories have people that cannot end up together.
If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
But what about us?
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have, we lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
When I said I would never leave you.
And you never will. But I've got a job to do, too. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of. Ilsa, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Now. Here's looking at you, kid.
I'm melting! Melting! Oh, what a world! What a world! Wouldn't you like me? Just me the way I am?
Send them over to Schindler. Send them all. His place is a haven.
He likes your lemonade.
You should be kissed and often, and by someone who knows how.
And I can't stand him.
Why?
If she can stand it, I can. Play it.
Stay tuned as AFI crowns the greatest American film of all time here on CBS.
The Godfather is the best filmmaking ever in the history of American cinema. There is nothing that speaks more to who we are, where we came from, what we stand for, and where we're going to go. That's the work of a true genius.
You look terrible. I want you to eat. I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's going to give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
It's a movie that altered people's lives. It's just unbelievable, the way people talk about it and the way people remember every little thing and can recite the dialogue.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
The Godfather was poetic and powerful, poignant and scary. Just that perfect union of art and roller coaster.
We never look at those people as bad people. In their world, they're the good people. So we embrace how they take care of each other.
This wasn't enough time, Michael. Wasn't enough time.
We'll get there, Pop. We'll get there.
Citizen Kane is the most important, greatest American film as far as I'm concerned.
This is the gold standard here.
It's pretty hard to top Citizen Kane.
Is that really your idea of how to run a newspaper?
I don't know how to run a newspaper, Mr. Thatcher. I just try everything I can think of.
There's never been a film that I'm aware of that if you watch it for the 138th time, you can still see something new that you hadn't noticed before.
I made no campaign promises because until a few weeks ago, I had no hope of being elected. Now, however, I have something more than a hope. And Jim Geddes has something less than a chance.
Every single, not just every scene, but every shot has an idea. There's a concept, and an idea being executed at every second of that film.
You don't care about anything except you. You just want to persuade people that you love them so much that they ought to love you back. Only you want love on your own terms.
You look at Citizen Kane, and it's this huge movie. It just, the dynamics of that character that he plays are gigantic.
Hello, Jedediah.
And yet, it's such a personal story.
Hello, Charlie. I didn't know we were speaking. Sure we're speaking, Jedediah. You're fired.
There's this extraordinary performance which people seem to take for granted. I mean, Orson ages from 25 to 85 in this movie, and he's totally believable in every phase of it.
Rosebud.
It is just one of the great movies ever made, and I think many people are going to agree. It's just one of the great American experiences.
Throw that junk.
Citizen Kane will always be something that demands attention and respect and admiration for another way of looking at the world through the cinematic eye.